Welcome to Megapath Presents. I'm Ronnie Hayes, and today let's talk The Walking Dead Q&A 106. Now, there's something I want to get into that I've been debating whether or not I should do this. Now, right now, this is a bonus Q&A, so I have about 20 minutes. I'm going to record this. Hopefully later tonight I can get it uploaded. Again, since it's bonus, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do much editing with this, so if you're new here, trust me, we like to do a little bit better of a presentation on other videos the best we can. But with that said, this is a bonus one, so I'm going to be pulling questions from the first impression review from the recent episode. Normally, we pull the questions from the most recent Q&A, which means we're doing 106 right now. I would pull all the questions from 105. It's so simple, it's so easy. But with this though, if I do have the time, I do want to go back to the first impression review, and this is our first impressions, not the afterthoughts, and just pull questions and maybe messages I get from a lot of people. Like, for example, for episode 4, a lot of people are asking me, what do I want to see besides what we know already, which is Negan coming to get his offering for the first time. I really am looking forward to, and I kind of, at this point, definitely want to see something before that first week. It doesn't have to pick up right when they get back from the roadblock shenanigans, you know? But I want to see something in that first week before Negan shows up. And then afterwards, I think I would really enjoy some kind of seeds being planted of a rebellion. I don't know if that's too early. And I'm not talking about any fights breaking out. I'm talking about a simple discussion, or maybe just witnessing someone tracking someone. It could be that simple. Other than that, if they don't give us anything like that, maybe a little bit more with Daryl being taken back to the sanctuary. Maybe they even skip a few hours and show them locking him back up, but we get some type of different story to close out that episode at the sanctuary. I think that's something that I am looking forward to. Again, the beginning and the end, those two different things. Now, a couple questions from the last video. Judith Dixon, you put a whole paragraph here, and I want to bring this up for anyone else who might have heard what I said and thought something different. For example, you're saying that you don't pre-write a whole script. This, I'll be honest with you, I don't know what it means, because you make it sound like my expectations for the previous episode, it was a letdown because I had the script in great detail in my head how I wanted it to play out. I don't do that. That does not sound enjoyable at all. I keep it general, you know what I mean? We go over details on this channel for predictions, breakdowns, yada yada yada, but I do not watch the show and constantly think about, oh, they need to do this, Negan needs to do this. I sit back, and as the scenes unfold, right then and there, do I like that? Boom, no, yes, you know, is it exciting? No. Is it intense? No. Does it draw me in? Yes, no. Am I loving it? No. I don't know. I just clear out my mind and go to town on it. That sounds dumb, but yeah, that's what I do. I don't have a predetermined script in my head. And as far as the end there, you said, this is the story they're giving us and we should just love it. That I do disagree with. It's okay to say, I don't like this episode. It didn't do it for me. I don't like that scene. That scene felt weak. I don't know. It didn't draw me in. It's okay to not even understand why. You can get a line of dialogue and just be like, I don't really like that. It is okay. The show's not going to get canceled. The cast and crew are not going to go cry in a corner. The fandom is not going to implode. Guys, it is okay. And I'm saying that specifically because with Fear the Walking Dead, it got bloody and brutal, you know, between the fans that liked it and the fans that didn't like it. God forbid anyone have a differing opinion down in the comment section. This is the first episode with me personally that I just didn't enjoy as much as I thought I was going to. Keep in mind, I still said it was good. The acting was solid. There's a few scenes that dragged it down, and no, it's not the comic book scenes. So yeah, I don't go into it with specific details on how the story will play out. It's a general thing. An introduction to the sanctuary, what's going on with Daryl, that's all I want. That's how I go into the episode. With The Talking Dead, you asked why I don't watch it. Listen, I love the idea of The Talking Dead, and I really want something like that that's more behind the scenes and serious. I'm cool with the jokes, joking and goofing around. I love when they get cast and crew. Anything that is humorous. I love some of the chemistry between the guests on the show. But what really made me stop watching it a season or two ago was it felt like all the guests they were having on, minus a few. There's a few ones where, like Yvette Nicole Brown, when she's she's on, I'll definitely watch it. She takes it serious. But there's some guests, the celebrity fans, it seems like they are embarrassed in a way to act like a fan, so anything they say is all joke, it's nonsense. It's like, hey, tell me a prediction, what's going to happen? And the guy's like, I think Daryl's going to chew bullets and, shit him out like a machine gun and wipe out everybody. They say the dumbest shit. So yeah, I do, for the most part, skip it a lot of times when they have celebrity fans because it feels like a giant waste of time. But when there's a lot of the cast on there, I make damn sure I watch it. Like if Scott Gimple or Greg Nicotero, a lot of the main cast, if they're on there, some of the new characters, if they go on the show and I want to feel out the actors, I'll watch that, and then some of their interviews. Now, Cooper Clements, did I say that right? You talk about how Maggie might see the Polaroid. Now, a few people mentioned this since the premiere episode aired. Yeah, Maggie might find the Polaroid and burn it. Now, if you go back to Glenn's from season 6 where Glenn found the Polaroids on the wall, there's actually doubles. There's multiple doubles. I think I've seen 3 or 4 where it's the same Polaroid, but they have it in different spots to give it a bigger, which I don't get why they did it, because they did such a close-up on it. It's hard to miss that they just doubled the images. But I'm going to pretend that that was on purpose and it was actually the same picture taken twice, and it was done on purpose, which gives me hope that yes, we might have a Glenn picture that might still end up on the wall. Maggie will find it and Maggie will burn it, similar to how she burnt her picture when her and Glenn finally reunited. So yeah, I do like your idea, and that's cool. Mark Scott, you're talking about breaking Daryl. Do you think that Negan should take him to Alexandria and threaten one of the Alexandrians? I don't think that's a good idea, because that's not a real break, that's an artificial break. Yes, anybody under the sun is going to say whatever you want them to say if you're threatening someone. If it will keep that person from being harmed, it's not real, they'll say whatever instead of being broken. You can definitely tell by the story and Dwight's actions in the previous episode that he was consciously doing things to try to break Daryl down, you know what I mean? So I just don't think that works. Melissa B, 405, were you expecting more from the episode? I was underwhelmed, and it didn't tell much more about the sanctuary. I definitely understand what you're saying about that. I really would have liked to see more. I know we saw Daryl in that cell a little bit more than I would have, a lot more than I would have liked to be honest. That is a shitty situation to be in. That sucks. You're butt-ass naked, hard floor, they got that shitty music. So yeah, that clearly sucks. I just don't think we needed to see it on screen play out that long as they did to understand that that is a shitty situation. It's the style of how they did it that just didn't vibe well with me. You know, when I rewatched it again, that's one of the things, because I notice I can sit back and look at the story and go, yeah, I get it, that's interesting, I like what they're going for here, I enjoyed this part of the story. It's just the story itself, the way it was written and the way they decided to film it, it didn't do it for me, and it's just that simple. Now, it could be an episode I go back later on and I'm like, yeah, this is good. And remember, it is good. I just was expecting something better. And a lot breaks down to the style. Like Kim to the Kizzo. I hope I said that right. You asked about the opener and you said it felt odd. And then you were talking about the balls. Now the balls, that's when the previous season where Eugene bit Dwight in the balls. That's what Negan was talking about. But yeah, the opener plays a big part in the style, or at least explaining the style that I didn't like. For example, the guy turns around when Dwight gets up and walks away. The guy turns around and they show that clip 3 times. It's that certain style. It's the entire way they did that opener. We all as people have different tastes in things. And yes, the intro, even in second viewing, it was a rocky start for an episode that I felt did not give us as much as it could have. But with that said, keep in mind, it is possible that they're holding out on some more Sanctuary stuff. Like, they could have given us the basic rundown of the Sanctuary, and then later we're going to get another episode where we revisit it, because Daryl's likely going to stay there. I can't see Negan just giving him back to Rick and the people at Alexandria. So we are likely to revisit the Sanctuary again and continue with this story between Dwight and Daryl. And that is something I've been talking about since season 6 that I'm excited about. I'm happy they are deciding to use the story in that way, the story from the comic book in that way. I love that. I think that has better potential for awesome story than remixing the comic book, because I think the comic book version works for the comic book, but for TV show, I think it needs a repolish, a rewrite, because it just would not work on TV. It's too simple, it's too out of nowhere, it's too quick. It works in the comic book to a certain degree because it always keeps you wondering about Dwight. Now in the TV show, they're doing something that I do love, which is making Dwight a complete dick. At first I was like, wait, why are you making Dwight to be such a contradictory fuck? But it's good if you look back on it, because we could see somebody who put on this front. This is something similar to Carol to a degree, a person who before told Daryl that he can't kill because there's no coming back from that. Once Dwight kills, he doesn't give a fuck. It's gone. Like, Dwight is gone. He might not even notice it himself. He just like, you know, fuck it. It is what it is. I'm a piece of shit. He's accepting that. So he does these foul things to stay one of the top guys. And now we're starting to see the seeds being planted or their cracks starting around Dwight's facade. And once that crumbles and breaks, we will see a different version of that character. One that is more recognizable to the Season 6 Dwight than the Season 7 Dwight. All that stuff I love, and I can't wait to see that. So when I do talk about certain things like the Sanctuary and the Iron, some of the shit from the comic, we need to understand, especially for any new members out there, I am not condemning the entire season when I talk about this scene didn't work for me, I didn't like it. This storyline, they didn't mention this from the comic book, that didn't vibe well with me. You gotta keep in mind, this is for the overall season. We don't just discuss one episode and then that's that. At the end of the season, we can come back. At the end of multiple seasons, we can come back, do other videos discussing other things and discussing them as a whole. Like right now, yes, there's a problem with a couple things I mentioned in the review that are problematic for me, but that doesn't mean they're going to stay problematic, because come episode 8, they might fill us in with a few more episodes where we see the Sanctuary, and then it starts making more sense why they decided to do it that way. So for anyone who sits there and says, oh, you hear someone say, that didn't work, I didn't like that, it was different in the comic book, and I don't like how they remixed it, at least on this channel, please understand, it's not the final judgment. There's always times where we come back and say, hey, you know what, this didn't work, but the outcome we got because of that, it tied it up in a bow, and I really appreciate that a lot more now than now that we are where we are with the story. So I think that's something important to keep in mind. Now, Romance, Relics, Bottles, Sean Smith, and a whole bunch of others talked about the bike getting damaged. I see a lot of people saying it was the walker that fell off of the bridge. I'm not buying that shit. First off, the walker fell off the bridge. Even if it landed on the bike is clean as shit. Go back and rewatch it. The bike has no blood, no gook, no grime. I mean, nothing. It is clean, but it's bent to hell, and I think the tire is even flat. So it is busted up. I'm not buying it. Now, yes, it is very likely that they cut a scene out, and since they are doing these bottle episodes specifically, it's likely we will come back and revisit that. Now, if somebody was watching Dwight, we might see it through their eyes. You know what I mean? Let's just say there's somebody from Alexandria or the Hilltop, somebody from a different community, and they are spying on Dwight, or they're just out there on a run and they witness Dwight. Maybe they sabotage his bike, anything like that, and then we see it in their story in a different episode. I'm cool with that. But if we finish the season and we never go back and figure out what the fuck happened with his bike, I'm always going to consider that some type of fail in some way, shape, or form. How many fans commented afterwards and say, whoa, did I miss something? You know, what the fuck happened? If it was a walker falling on the bike, fine, okay, but I would like to know how it dented it to all hell and still kept it clean, you know? With that said, I'm still, like everything else in this continuing story, I'm still always waiting for the next episode, the next season, the next 2 seasons to give a final judgment. Like right now, I feel comfortable giving some final judgments on season 3 and season 2, but I do not feel fully comfortable giving final judgments on seasons 5 and 6 and 7 now that it started, because there's storylines that they started highlighting more in 5 and 6 that they haven't wrapped up yet in 7. So I'm not going to judge them until they're done with that. That being said, leave some questions down in the comment box. Hopefully we get another Q&A in this week before the new episode. I'm done talking. It's your turn.